Efficient key bindings using both Mac and Linux. I'm still switching back and forth all the time from Linux to Mac, and I can't figure out how to stop getting confused in my keystrokes, especially with browsers and Unix apps. Here's the situation. Emacs, Vim, Shell, and other Unix apps use the control key the same on both Mac and Linux. Some very common keystrokes of copy, paste, cut, all are swapped CMD on the Mac, and control on Linux. Some things I tried. Using CMD as control in Emacs kind of works, but then it confuses other Unix type apps. Swapping the position of CMD and control on the keyboard, good for copy, paste, all, and not much else. I can't possibly be the only one that goes back and forth between Mac and Linux having this issue. Would it possibly be better to approach this from the Linux side and change the mappings there so that I can have the same ones on the Mac? The main problem is browser apps, Chrome/Firefox, and then Unix type apps, Emacs, IntelliJ, RubyMine, Vim, Tmux.
After a number of months, I did come to a solution that I like. On the Mac, I got used to the fact that there are three main modifiers: CMD, Control, Opt. On the Linux box, I use the same Kinesis keyboard and have the same layout for the modifiers, such that I map. The key was to have Control twice. And then I got used to the differences between CMD and Control on the Mac, and on the PC, it worked out that Control is the key. For example, in Chrome. So I can hit two different keys on Linux and get the same result as the Mac. If you have a Windows-type keyboard, you can remap something like the special Windows key to be the Mac command key. I've since switched to just using a Mac, and, without a doubt, that's way more efficient for touch typing.
Updated. Kinto.sh will now map Alt/CMD to use Ctrl+Shift while in a terminal app. It of course maps Alt/CMD to Control the rest of the time. Here's a much simpler solution, Kinto. It tackles the very issue you are having with terminal keymaps not working right while keeping a good keymap with everything else. I've been working on this for 3 years now, and finally feel like I can contribute something back because of how well it works, unlike my last 2 attempts. It is intended for X11 and Systemd based distros, but the concept will carry over to Wayland once I find a good way to implement it, despite the enhanced security that makes it difficult to work with. 1. Gist: for those that just want to see the premise or implement their own alternating solution, edge cases not covered. This URL. Two, the full-on installer that makes use of Systemd, Bash, and Sprop. Edge cases, like Chromebooks, are covered. It was surprisingly difficult to support, but I enjoy mine so everyone can benefit. This URL. Essentially, with this solution you're not fighting how to properly create new shortcut keys or trying to avoid shortcut conflicts in your terminal apps versus the rest of your GUI apps. You simply get the best of both worlds, and it works as seamlessly as it can, beyond including default shortcut config files for various terminals and popular text editors, which I may include later. Even text editors like Sublime don't simply swap out the CMD key with Control on every shortcut, but it aligns properly about 95% or more of the time, I'd say. And talking about Wayland, I do have a proof of concept of how to make this keymap keyswap trick work on KDE Plasma 5 with an existing widget that pulls in app names. If anyone has a better solution, then I am all ears, especially if it can work on X11 as well. Sprop is completely sufficient on X11, but obviously no use on Wayland. This URL.
I went through this a while ago and found someone's AutoKey setup. I would give credit if I could find where it came from. I modified it for some things that were missing for my setup, but here it is. This URL. It gets me to like 95% of all the keystrokes being the same. Some things that are still different, CMD plus right and CMD plus left, don't act the same. On Linux I use Alt plus page up and down. I ended up depending on Vim bindings in my editor to keep me sane. I would recommend that if it's possible for what you're doing. Oh, and Quake has a configurable copy and paste setting for the terminal, so I set that to be Alt plus C and Alt plus P for terminal shenanigans.
Today, Ubuntu has a shortcut config tool that lets you set global shortcuts, but I couldn't get it to recognize the changes when I tested it. Perhaps it needs a restart. Maybe Ubuntu has a similar option. Another thing that might help with the copy and paste functions in Linux is to use the middle mouse button to paste. When you highlight some text, you don't have to copy it. Highlight it, switch to your other app, then click the middle mouse button to paste the highlighted text. Different habits would make the keyboard issue a moot point, at least for those specific functions.
Thank you.